Hi, I'm Dolores, and in today's topics, we're going to go over the AVL automatic systems, specifically on the A Series Loom. In my last video, I spoke about the sticky beam or sandpaper beam, the front beam on the AVL. If you missed that video, there's a card above and a link below. Today, I want to talk about the automatic cloth collection system, the tensioning system, and the automatic advance. In my next video, I'll be discussing the Compu-Dobby box, and while we're in that box, I'm going to replace one of the fan filters. So we'll take a good look at that in the next video. If you don't want to miss that, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget, hit the bell for notifications. So let's get started. This is the back of my AVL A Series loom. It's 48-inch wide weaving width. And there's several unique features about the AVL loom. So we look from the top, we can see there is a sectional beam. That's a 1-yard sectional beam. And then I have another plain beam. And right below the plain beam, right here, is the automatic cloth collection system. When the automatic collection system is not being used, I keep it rolled up at the back of the loom. And there is a pin and a hole through the drum. At the top is the weight. And that just locks it in place so the weight can't fall. On this beam, you'll see there's an apron and there are 2 rods. I'm going to pull it out so you can see it better. As I come to the edge here, the beam is connected to a drum with a handle on it and a string or a line that goes from this automatic collection beam up to a weight, and then through a pulley system on the loom to the front where there's another collection drum. To put the automatic cloth collection system on the loom, I had to loosen the weight and put it all the way to the floor. Now I'm going to disengage the weight and unroll it. There's an apron here with 2 rods on it, and I'm going to roll it all the way out. My weight's at the top of the loom again, so I'm going to the front to put the weight back on the floor. And I'll unroll it all the way. Once again, I put the pin in so the weight can't fall. The apron is attached to the beam by a Velcro strip on the apron itself and on the beam. When you first put it on, you want to make sure that it's centered, and as it rolls on, you want to make sure that there's no wrinkles in it. I've taken the apron from the automatic cloth collection system from the back beam over a beam here on the loom between the beam and the shafts above, and then over another brace on the loom to a roller. It's coming in front or underneath the roller, and then up to another roller. The apron is not long enough to go all the way to the front beam, so what you see are cords. I've attached cords from the one rod to the other rod up over that beam to the front beam. And I've come under the sticky beam. And my apron rod is hanging about midway through so that I can tie the warp on. I have taken time to space my cords out pretty much evenly. As I mentioned in my other video when I talked to you about the sticky beam, if you haven't seen that, I will put a card at the top and link it down below. But there are two ways to tie onto this loom. One is to simply wrap your warp threads around this sticky beam. It sticks to it and the cloth rolls around this beam. To tie onto this rod, it's the same as you would do with most any other loom. I take about an inch of warp, split it in two, come up on the outside of it, cross it, and tie it. I'll work my way back and forth across the warp, doing the same thing. At this point, I'm not really concerned about the tension on it. I want to get the tension even, but it doesn't need to be high, because when I come back through and tighten my knots, then I can pull the tension to what it should be. So I'll continue doing this and get back to you when it's done. Now that I have the warp tied onto the loom, let's take another look at how the automatic cloth collection system works. As I mentioned before, we've got the apron rod that is held by a few cords down to the main apron and under the loom. If we look to the right side of the loom, there is a ratchet here similar to what you might find on a regular loom. You lift it up and you would crank it forward to move your warp through the loom. However, on the AVL, with all the automatic systems, you don't need to do that. It will automatically feed itself through the loom. If we go to the right side here, this is the drum. There is a cord around the drum that goes across the bottom of the loom and then comes back up to a weight. The weight's hanging fairly low to the ground right now. In order to lift the weight so that it will put tension on the warp, I'm going to crank this forward, and that is lifting the weight to the top of the loom. Let's take another look here. And now the weight's hanging at the top. The cord goes through the weight to the other drum at the rear of the loom, and that puts tension on it, which pulls the cloth through the loom. Now, all of these automatic systems on the AVL work together. So that's your cloth collection system. The next thing is an automatic tensioning system. On the back beams, there are two on this one. This is the 1 yard sectional beam, is an arm and a weight. And then there's a cord that goes over a pulley. The cord wraps around the pulley a couple times to cause tension, and then it comes up to a spring at the top of the loom. You can regulate your tension by just moving this weight. If it's closer to the beam, it has very little tension on it. As we slide it down, there's a lot of tension. On most warps, you want to try to use as little tension as possible. The warp that I'm using is a cashmere wool blend, and it's fairly delicate, so I'm going to push that weight back up to the top, secure it with these knobs, and I will have very little tension on the loom. And there's one more automatic system on the loom. It's called the Automatic Advance, and there's two gears that mesh together. As they come on the outside of the loom, there's an arm that comes from the gears and down and across to the beater. The way to adjust it, we look on the arm, that is 4 to 12 picks per inch. The center is 10 to 60 picks per inch. And finally, at the bottom, for the finest threads, are 40 to 120 picks per inch. I have it set here at 10 to 60. And there is a rod that comes across. To make small adjustments, we just move this, and we can put it up or down on this bracket. When you first start weaving, you need to adjust this till you get your picks per inch just where you want them. And then as you weave, it only allows the front beam to roll forward the amount that you've selected. I'm going to weave so you can see what this system does. As I'm weaving, watch the two gears. You'll see the small gear moves forward slightly every time I bring my beater forward. Another feature of this loom is the fly shuttle boxes. What we're looking at is an end feed shuttle for a fly shuttle box. You can tell that it is a fly shuttle by the metal tips at each end of the feed. And with most end feeds, it has a honix system with a pern. At either side of the beater is a box. This is a single fly system. AVL makes a double fly and also a 4 fly. So this will only do one shuttle at a time. The advantage of having a fly box system is that this loom is 48 inches wide. If I weave full width, I cannot throw the shuttle from one side to the other. Also, by using a fly box system, it really speeds your weaving up, even if you're weaving on a more narrow piece. I hope today you've learned a little bit about all the automatic systems on an AVL loom and how they can help you better your weaving. In my next video, I will be discussing the Compu-Dobby unit. We'll take a look inside and we'll replace one of the filters while we're in there. My Compu-Dobby box is the 4.5. It's currently the most recent version of the Compu-Dobby for the A Series loom. AVL has another newer loom, and it has a different Compu-Dobby box. They're continually updating the boxes depending on what technology is available. So if you don't want to miss that video, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time. Bye.